Hello, everybody. Welcome today to this quick chat. By way of introduction, over the last few years, the CTC has highlighted funding opportunities with the Department of Defense, and at over $2 billion in SBIR funding, or SBIR STTR funding, the DoD leads the way when it comes to innovation funding through the SBIR program. What may be less appreciated is that SBIR updates are one of many changes designed to encourage more small businesses, more innovators, students, and universities to engage with the military towards modernization priorities. And towards this goal, the DoD is funding new programs that engage innovators at the earliest technology readiness levels. The National Security Innovation Network, or NSIN, is one such program. And today we are fortunate to have NSIN's Great Lakes Regional Director, Tony Arendt. Did I say it correctly?
Right.
Thank you.
Yep.
And Tony will go over NSIN programs that have a wide flavor of opportunity that include collaborations between small businesses and military, accelerators, university, students at the individual level to support some of these modernization priorities. So thank you, Tony, for joining us today. And why don't you start off by telling us a little bit about NSIN?
Yeah, sure thing. And this is great. Thanks. First of all, thanks, Idella, for having me on today. Appreciate the opportunity to share details about NSIN and the work we do within the Department of Defense, or the DoD, and finding places where we can partner with the Wisconsin University and venture communities. So I know it's going to be dense, not rushed, but dense. So there's going to be a lot of acronyms. So feel free to stop me if I need to unpack anything or clarify. But NSIN, we are a funded program in the DoD, stands for National Security Innovation Network. We're actually a division of DIU, which is Defense Innovation Unit. That's the one headquartered in Mountain View, California. And together we're part of the Office of Secretary of Defense for Research and Engineering, or OUSD R&E at the Pentagon. Like DIU, we're about 5 years old. And just a little bit of context on our origin, because I think it's important to understand where we're coming from. Again, we originated around 2016 from a SecDef mandate. I believe it was Secretary Carter. And he established DIUX, which is Defense Innovation Unit Experimental. And around that time, the DoD was having kind of a self-reflection moment. We made innovation. He essentially made innovation a central line of effort in our national defense strategy. The technology capability was eroding in the U.S. Commercial innovation was outpacing that of the DoD, which is something we were not ready for or used to. And global venture investment made new tech more widely available. And meanwhile, we're a big organization hamstringed by bureaucracy in our procurement process. And so basically we are losing our military advantage. And so in came DIUX, as well as NSIN. And we also have a sister division in DIU called NSIC, or Trusted Capital, National Security Innovation Capital, basically domestic investment versus foreign investment. And so we started out as MD5, which is basically a national security technology accelerator. And it basically leveraged diverse thinkers from the private sector, universities, addressing defense, homeland security, and disaster relief at the time. It's 2016. And now our mission's evolved over the years, but it remains human-centered. So we're building diverse networks of innovators across the country. We bring together academia, defense community, and entrepreneurial innovators. And we leverage our greatest national asset, people, to solve the DoD's toughest challenges. We view ourselves as the human capital side of the National Security Innovation Base, or NSIB. And basically we're working to fundamentally change the way the DoD solves problems. And just a kind of snapshot into how the DoD thinks of innovation, they think of it as a strategic imperative, a third offset strategy. You think of precision weapons, nuclear deterrence, and innovation's right up there. That's how concerned they are with innovation, shaping the future conflicts or shaping the battlefield for future confrontations. So NSIN's headquartered in DC. We have 11 regional offices located basically at innovation hubs throughout the country. I'm actually a government civilian stationed in Chicago. I'm responsible for the Great Lakes region. So from Minnesota east all the way to Ohio. So 6 states there. And we also have additional personnel embedded at universities, nearly 30 universities across the country. And that decentralized presence on the ground and embedded in these ecosystems helps us to better achieve our mission, to accelerate innovation efforts across the DoD. And as you know, Idella, everything we do is free of charge.
It's a wonderful number to get to. So, and it's really important for participation, which we're going to get to in a little bit. But I do kind of want to unpack what innovation means. What kind of innovation is a good fit for NSIN? We can talk about the TRL levels, but I kind of also want to talk about the categories of innovation, just to kind of see, is it just for engineers, or are there other kinds of innovation or people that are innovative that could participate in NSIN programming?
No, just spoiler is that it's all levels of students, undergraduate, graduate, and cross-disciplinary. And think of technology and talent essentially, and focusing on technology first. And it really depends. What's a good fit for NSIN programs? It depends on the program, but think of NSIN as early stage. Whereas DIU, our higher echelon, or our parent organization, would be more growth and scale. So we stir up the sediments and we get new talent, new innovators, new early stage ventures that are early or just being founded into and engaging with the DoD. So we're very early stage. So that's kind of our happy place. So we use technology readiness levels, which you mentioned, and so it's a scale of like 1 through 9, and we're at 1 through 6 essentially. And TRL is the DoD's way of estimating maturity of technologies. And so just really general, 1 through 3 is like research, 4 through 6 is development, and 7 through 9 is deployment. So research being like proof of concept, white paper, slide deck. 4 through 6 is like, hey, it's validated in a relevant environment, or you have a rapid or basic prototype. And then deployment 7 through 9 is like you have complete system, proven at scale, and essentially it's operational. In our programs, we have programs that are in the early TRL stage, very early TRL stage, nascent, novel, conceptual, 1 to 3, and then in 4 to 6, moving from white paper and slide deck towards a prototype. And happy to cover those. There's some that are great fit for universities, and there are some that are a great fit for accelerators.
Before we get into the programs, I do want to ask, how do ideas, teams, technologies progress from where they're at with whatever NSIN support into whatever the next level? Is there a set of kind of common paths technologies and teams can go through in order to demonstrate or to get it integrated? Is the SIBR sitter kind of the next stage for some of those programs or some of those technologies, or is there a couple of other avenues too people could pursue?
Yeah, I mean, I'm just thinking of this kind of like example, like, you're in the market, you set up the fruit stand, you pick the apples, right? You shine it up, you put it in the basket, nice display, and then you attract a customer. Like, we can get you to that point of customer discovery and really prepare you for that, to be up channeled for the next steps of growth and funding. So short answer is, to be up channeled, you need to be down selected. So that happens either internally at NSIN by our defense partner or sponsor, a panel of VIP or SMEs or subject matter experts, or self-selected by the student or venture team on whether or not they want to pursue their technology further. So most successful innovations somehow satisfy a broader defense modernization priority or a service-specific modernization priority. And these like top 10 are like AI, biotech, cyber, 5G, energy, hypersonics, quantum, space. Yeah, so, microelectronics. So, if you're operating somewhere in that vicinity, then, you definitely should probably think about reaching out to DoD or reaching out to NSIN, myself, and we can help navigate those waters for you and make connections and build relationships. And that's kind of really outside of funding, that's kind of like the real value. Now, our charge in DIU and NSIN is the development and integration of new technology into the DoD, right? And we're still talking about tech. We have a side program for talent, but just focusing on tech development, I think we're doing really well at. Integration is tough. I mean, it's a bureaucratic enterprise, and so that's kind of where we add value, is to help kind of learn the terrain and navigate, very much like the CTC, right? Learn the terrain, educate, and help navigate. And we operate in the non-traditional acquisition funding sources. So up-channeled and further funded, right? We can set that up, polish the application, get it all set, and then hope someone buys it. But we can help tee the venture or the student team up for additional funding sources. And I'll touch on a few DoD ones specifically with the time we have, but we are non-federal acquisition regulations based or non-traditional acquisition funding sources, right? So very small, think $250,000 and below. The goal is to secure commercial funding, right? The DoD can take greater risk for a venture. We are more risk tolerant, high dollar risk tolerant than an angel investor or a VC, for example, on new technologies. But the benefit or the goal is to also secure commercial funding, right, towards a dual use technology, because that's good for both parties, right? The cost sharing of that development, et cetera. So you're looking for something that has both military and commercial applications. So overall, the intent is to generate a valid solution up to TRL6, up to a rapid or base prototype. And then with pathways, and we try to curl the ice, right, and get those pathways set before we launch a program, launch a competition, to sitter, phase 1, direct to phase 2. I've written many letters of support for Wisconsin ventures already in those applications. For example, there's cyclic broad agency announcements of technology needs. There's off-cycle solicitations, requests for information, and then follow-up requests for proposals. If they don't, like the defense partner doesn't want to compete something, they can sole source contract with a justification and authorization. They can use the operational end users or the operational units, and really talking to the Guard, they have RDT&E funding, research development technology, engineering or evaluation. Even I'm getting confused in the acronyms, but RDT&E funding, right? Or they can repurpose their O&M, their operation, in like late in the year, you haven't spent it, they can repurpose money for research and development. Prize authority or even rapid acquisition funds have also worked in the past. These are all non-traditional, smaller scale, kind of bootstrapping type funding solutions. But really, again, the bottom line is NSIN can help position you to best compete for these funding streams. And the real value, again, is connecting ventures to the DoD, building relationships in the early stages while providing support, mentoring, access to resources. And then also we throw in money, which I'll cover also in the programs. We throw in initial money programmatically as well.
Love it. So let's get into this. We have a couple of university partners on the call today, and this is where I really wanted to highlight what NSIN can do with the university partners in both identifying those dual use cases. I just want to make it very clear for those that are on the call and those who are going to be listening to this later, in that part of the big challenge is not about how cool your technology is. And that is where a lot of us struggle, is that we are really interested in the technology and we expect the end users to figure out how the technology fits into their system. But the challenge is it's really up to the technologists and the innovators to understand and to communicate fit. And there has to be a collaboration or a conversation to really engage and find the right way to communicate how this is going to be a good fit today, how you're going to pilot something today, and how that might have a broader implication for broader military use. And I think that's one of the really great points for people connecting with NSIN, is to try and engage you in those conversations and kind of see where the right next steps might be within the military channels. And you guys do that through a number of programs. And so I really want to highlight that NSIN has 3 big buckets of programming that you can see on the website: acceleration, collaboration, and national service portfolios. And I know NSIN is in support of many of these areas. And so I wanted to kind of highlight some of those programs that I think are a really good fit for some of the university partners that we have on the call. And one thing that really stood out to me was the Hacking for Defense program.
Mhm.
Can you tell
Yeah.
us a little bit about what it is, who it's for, maybe an example of collaborations, university or other collaborators that have kind of leveraged that program to do something?
Yeah, absolutely. And you're spot on with the fit comment. That's a real thing, and that's where NSIN can help. I will caveat this with, and this is the meat of what I want to talk about. Also, these programs. So I'll spend a lot of time here and drill down. But I do want to caveat program versus non-programmatic. Right? These are all our programs that we run and we're funded for. But there's a whole flip side of non-programmatic connections, introductions. I mean, you know how it is through the workday. Hey, do you know anybody here? Can you connect me to this? Other opportunities going on, other funding streams, other people working on the same thing. So leverage us as that non-programmatic network as well. You'll hear me say hacking for defense. It's not coding. It's just problem solving. It's just like, the buzzword that we use. Hacking for defense. So this is our kind of like a banner program at universities. It's actually written into the NDAA, National Defense Authorization Act. It's an academic course that is housed at individual universities, supported by the institution and developed in partnership with NSIN. It's similar to the NSF I-Core site model. We provide base curriculum. We run the facilitators through an educator's course each summer. And the course is formally listed with the registrar. And you figure out where that course is going to be housed, what dean, what department is going to sponsor it, who the teaching team is going to be, list it, recruit for it, and then get the challenges. So it's a kind of a longer runway because all that back-end programming, I'm talking like at least 12 months, if not longer, to really launch an H4D course. But once that's in place, super helpful, and to up level a DoD relationship at the university and get new innovators engaged. Now, I will say operational expenses. We cover any operational expenses, travel for interviews, travel to meet a DoD partner, and any prototyping costs up to $2,000. And we have a whole list of post-course options that are available. But I've seen ventures formed in H4D. I've seen ventures acquired during an H4D term. Just recently at the University of Chicago, space, essentially a space guard channel. If you think aviators, right? There's guard, and it's like a safety channel. Think of a space guard merc chat channel, deconfliction channel in space, and they got acquired really fast. Others, again, have been funded. Just recently, we've worked with the 88th RD, Readiness Division, they're headquartered in Fort McCoy and also, I think, in the Twin Cities. But they're a 19-state, 500 plus facility Army Reserve organization. We did an intervention with Berkeley professors, and we had 5 solutions come out of there. 1, they tackled themselves. 1 was thrown into a capstone, and 3 went into H4D, and universities are working on those right now. So it's really a compelling program. Again, very early stage, TRL 1 to 3. We also have capstone. Now this one's a little bit easier barrier to entry. They're essentially identified military challenges with NSIN matchmaking. Plug and play into existing capstone program and timeline. We help pair challenges based on student interest and identified university strengths, or even self-identified university strengths or interests. We occasionally give capstone funds up to 10K, which isn't a lot considering capstone, but students can always apply for our impact grants of $3,000 to $5,000. A good example of a capstone is 147th Aviation Battalion out of Fort McCoy. A captain there developed a visor that is a helicopter pilot helmet mounted visor that has varying levels of think of smoke glass of visibility, and the professor or the instructor pilot can dial up or down the visibility in the visor. And that was a capstone project at Georgia Tech that developed that app for the instructor pilot. So that was a great example.
That's excellent.
Next is
I do want to just kind of reiterate, because you've talked about the capstone and the hacking for defense. I just want to make sure that people understand that those are two separate programs under this
yes.
Collaboration bucket, and that if people are interested in a capstone project, is that how do people engage with you on a capstone project, especially if the university doesn't have a hacking for defense program yet?
Yeah, I mean, just email me. The faculty sponsor or student interest, if there's something you want to work on, and we can try to make that pairing. It's, again, low barrier to entry. So that's something we could sidebar, but just reach out, and I'll provide my email, or Adele, if you want to provide my email, or go on to nsin.mil, and you can surf around there and contact us link as well, and then we can get the conversation started. So I know we're kind of time is going by quickly. So the other programs that we have are hacks and challenges, and this anyone can join, participate. Individual students can join hackathons. Student teams can join hackathons. Just founding ventures or early stage ventures or mature ventures can join hackathons. And the funding really depends on the DoD sponsor, but we generally we get a couple hundred applicants. It's a quarterly program with a couple hundred applicants. We down select to 10 and then have a demo day, essentially. University faculty can participate in that way. They can help us down select if they're an expertise in a certain area, or they can sit on a VIP panel on demo day, which we select top 3 and award 15 and 25,000 per team for the top 3 winners. And this is unrestricted money. We take no equity whatsoever. And then our program manager leverages the DoD sponsor, whether it's Army Research Labs, Army Applications Lab, Army Futures Command, GVSC, or an operational end unit like 1st Cavalry Division, right? That helps shape the statement of work, and that helps curl the ice for that transition pathway. So again, trying to line up the pieces for y'all, but then the deliberate handoff to follow on funding sources. So that's a collaboration. You mentioned acceleration. We have an Emerge. Just 2 I want to touch on. Emerge, basically it's a T2 or technology transfer partnership. We're selecting 25 universities, 1 to 3 teams per university, and we're just kind of going around the garage and pulling stuff off the shelf. We're pulling IP off the shelf. Hey, do you think this has legs? Anyone interested in this? And then we either build a venture around it, build a team around it, and run with it, and build a dual use enterprise, or not. Put it back on the shelf. Right, so that's Emerge, and again, we give 10 to 20,000 per team with curriculum support like venture formation, SAM registration, customer discovery, DoD connections, product road mapping, etc. And then Vector is our in-house accelerator, TRL 3 to 6. So if you come out of hacks or hacking for defense or capstone with a TRL 3 white paper or slide deck, this helps you get to a prototype. Funding, curriculum, 3-month accelerator, advise assist on business issues, DoD, navigating the DoD, et cetera. That's an in-house accelerator for NSIN alumni. And then national service was the last one. These are programs that are primarily focused on students who want to serve the nation in an innovation capacity, graduate, undergraduate, cross-disciplinary. So not only can they serve in the classroom, H4D and capstone, but also at military commands via our X-Force Fellowship. It's our summer fellowship, June to mid-August. We award 150 a year, and those are going on right now. That application process is open right now. So again, go to our website. You can see the drop down and go to that national service portfolio. We also have a technology national security fellowship, 15 of those. That's a little more selective for graduate and doctoral students. But those are placed on the Hill, in the Pentagon, or in a legislative office. Again, there's only 15 of those. So that's kind of like an embedded tech expert in those offices, which is pretty awesome. That's a year long. Faculty can serve. You can be an expert and engage with DoD units and help them solve a problem and share information, and vice versa. You kind of get to see what the DoD is working on, so that's pretty cool. You could be on judging panels. We also have regular hire-a-thons. We have one going on. We just closed out one with Air Force Research Labs, and we just launched one with US Stratcom, for example. engineers, psychologists, data analysts, on and on. It's really, again, cross-disciplinary, things you wouldn't think of. And those are ongoing hire-a-thons on hiring full-time opportunities within the DoD. So again, a lot of ways to serve, and a lot of ways to participate across the board.
I just want to underscore service. I mean, this is a really nice way to engage. If you're not in the military, you don't have any military in your background. I've been very inspired myself with all the ways that you can leverage your personal skill sets towards service. And so the programs that you've highlighted, the Hacking for Defense, the capstone programs, all of the accelerators, which are really nice for the accelerators that we invited to the call that are in the ecosystem that are working with early stage startups to connect is another way for them to explore dual use or another market, if you will, for their technologies within the military, to seek funding. I know that there's trajectories to go from NSIN into a variety of these non-FAR federal acquisition regulation programs. That's one of the things that we're focusing on here at CTC through the Cyber Sitter, the non-FAR open topics, AFWorks opportunities. So there's some really great ways for people to engage and kind of leverage the DoD's approach of alternative bureaucratic ways to help people come in, understand, and seek some funding. So before we close, there are a number of questions that are in the chat that I do want to go through. The first question is from Lucas, and it's asked that they're getting a patent protection, and will this conflict with NSIN support?
No.
Okay. Another person asked,
it's like speed round.
huh? What'd you say?
It's like
Tony?
speed round.
Okay. Well, I mean, that's a direct answer. No, it doesn't.
Yeah.
And so, and Lucas, if you have some more questions around that, I know that as you go through DoD, that has been a question that's come up for us when we're working with small businesses, is that if they are going through the Cyber Sitter process, or if they're going through another funding process with the Department of Defense, there's real concern about what protections that they have. I will, my plug for Cyber Sitter is that there are some inherent protections, IP protections in the Cyber Sitter, data right protections in the Cyber Sitter program. So there may be a really great strategy to go through, leverage that funding mechanisms and acquire those protections as you move through other DoD funding pathways.
Yeah, and if with NSIN proper, there's not a conflict at our level, but feel free to reach out. My email is Arendt@NSIN.mil. And, if you want to talk specifics or details, happy to chat further.
And Lucas, I don't understand the last question that you have about meeting like fitness requirements. I think the service, if the question is around service, and Margaret can unmute you if I get this wrong, but I think the questions or the opportunities around service, these are not military requirements for service. This is your brain collaboration requirements for service. So it's through those opportunities that we're talking about service.
That's correct. Yeah.
Somebody asked if you have any examples of working with, thank you, Lucas, if you're working with any universities here in Wisconsin on the Hacking for Defense program or other related kind of university programs.
No, not yet. Just a lot of venture acceleration and connections, but not Hacking for Defense yet. So that's a deliberate scaling process. We have it at only 3 universities here in the Great Lakes region, and we're competing nationally with just our own internal capacity to support that program. So it's very deliberate growth strategy. So that specifically we don't have in the UW system quite yet, but again, capstone, jump right in, and we have a whole myriad of accelerator programs and makers and customer discovery offerings to connect with the DoD that we can jump right into anytime.
Wonderful. That ends the questions that we have here in the chat. I put Tony's email address in there. He said that you could email him, so
yeah,
you get what you get.
Yeah.
I just want to wrap this up on my end by saying one of the things we're really focusing on here in at the CTC is engaging Wisconsin, the broader Wisconsin ecosystem, and these opportunities. Yes, there's opportunities for funding and innovation and having student professional development, but there's really, I think the thing that's getting me is that there's really good opportunities for service, and importantly to learn about the military infrastructure and all of the cool and diverse things that do happen, and that we have these things in our own backyard here in Wisconsin. So I really encourage those that are on the call that are in positions that working with students to think about bringing some of these programs on board. With that said, Tony, I want to say thank you for joining us today on this quick chat. I hope that you get a little bit more business from Wisconsin. NSIN is free, so what a wonderful service to have. Any final parting words before we close it out?
No, always a pleasure, Idella. Again, thanks for carving out time. Appreciate everyone's interest. If you think of engaging the DoD, please reach out anytime. Thank you.
Wonderful. Well, thank you everybody for participating, and thank you, Tony, for joining us today.
All right, thanks.